Pregame.com.
Arizona at Washington. Yes, we're previewing Arizona at Washington. Stephen, you got to absolutely love this game that you're making me talk about. Arizona at Washington. Come on, tell me what's up.
Well, Marco, anytime I think you can get an edge and win money, we'll talk about a non-marquee game, which this one is. Hard to get excited about Arizona at Washington.
I apologize to the listeners that we're not using a sexy game here, but we're here to make you money, and Steven's going to do it.
Well, that's putting the pressure on me. I better win this to come up with
You better win this one, yeah.
But Washington is my video pick of the week. I think the Redskins are the right side here. It's not too many points to lay. Much better defense than Arizona. Washington at home last year held 5 of their 8 opponents at home last year to less than 17 points. And we saw what kind of defense Arizona had last week. Gave up 422 passing yards and 2 touchdowns to Cam Newton. Cam Newton, 42% completion percentage during preseason. Did he ever pass for 400 yards when he was at Blinn Junior College? No. Did he ever pass for 400 yards when he was at Auburn winning the Heisman Trophy? No. He does it against Arizona's defense. Arizona's defense composed of bad linebackers and first-year cornerbacks.
Well, Washington still has Rex Grossman, but I'm not so. I know, and I got to admit, I had the Giants last week against Washington, so I'll admit I was on the wrong side of Washington. I'm not sold on Washington. I am sold on the fact that Washington's going to be a better team this year than they were last year. I will give you that, but the Giants, as depleted as they were last week. That game was a tie ball game in the second half until a turnover turned the momentum there. Arizona, can they win on the road? The advantage you got, and I talked about this first week, teams that had new coaching staffs or had new quarterbacks, I said we're going to struggle at the beginning of the season because of the lockout. Players didn't get to learn the system. Well, that's the case with Arizona. They had a new quarterback. They got called from Philadelphia. He comes in right as the lockout ends. Here's your playbook. You got a month to learn it before the season starts. And you know how much limited time you play in preseason.
Yeah, awfully tough. And he doesn't have a very good offensive line either behind him.
Yeah, you can't throw from on your back. But he does have, I feel, if not one of the top 3 in the NFL, the top, Larry Fitzgerald on his.
Well, I rank Fitzgerald in the top 3. That's a safe statement that he's one of the top 3 wideouts. You could argue he's the best. He didn't do much against Carolina. They double-teamed him. And Washington's secondary, even if Landry doesn't play, is better than Carolina's secondary. Carolina may have the worst defensive backfield depth in the NFL. To make this a best video play, Marco, I got to have both handicaps working. So I'll start with the negative of Arizona, which I touched on earlier and which you talked about, learning a new system. Kolb's a work in progress. Arizona's not exactly road warriors. 1-7 against the spread the last 8 times they've been a road dog. They're also in a bad situational spot. They're going from west to east, cross-country travel, early start time. That's not pluses for Arizona. We've seen them quit on the road before. A couple years ago, the New England game, and snow vividly is in my mind. They'll quit on you. They've got some dog in them, and I don't mean good underdog either with Arizona. Now, the flip side is Washington. Yeah, you mentioned, hey, Rex Grossman. What has he ever done in the NFL but throw interceptions? I say Shanahan has coached up Grossman. He played very well in week 1. He's got some very underrated wide receivers. Washington cannot match Larry Fitzgerald with any of their wide receivers, not even close, but they have wide receiver depth. He's got a lot of targets. They got 2 good pass-catching tight ends. Fred Davis has so much speed, they flank him out as a very effective pass-catching tight end. Santana Moss still has something left in him. Gaffney knows how to run routes. They've got this Anthony Armstrong who's underrated. He has targets, and these guys were finding ways to get open. Their lead running back, Tim Hightower, played with Arizona the last 3 years, so you know he's going to be feeding them information about Arizona.
And he'll be running with a chip on his shoulder, too.
Running with a chip on his shoulder, running in the right system for him under Shanahan's run zone blocking scheme, which was so effective at Denver. Now, this is his second year with Washington. So the system, the schemes are in place. The Washington players are more comfortable with them. And the chemistry in the locker room, Marco, this is an intangible, but it's very much improved. No longer do we have Albert Haynesworth distractions. No longer do we have Donovan McNabb controversies.
Right.
No longer do we have Clinton Portis putting on dresses and goofy costumes and taking the spotlight there. These guys have all been weeded out. I think Washington's a dark horse to win the NFC East. I think they're that improved. I think at this early stage of the season, Arizona coming off a victory at home, the line is not where it should be. I think there's good value at 3.5. I know probably half the places, if not more, are showing 4 now. I would lay 4, and think this is a kill spot for Washington.
Well, I can't really disagree with you. I have no opinion on the game at this point. The only thing I'm going to say, Rex Grossman did look good, and Rex Grossman looked good in the preseason. I will point out that in the preseason, we know the teams don't play their starters that long, and Shanahan definitely played the preseason games to win. So that's a huge edge. I think it made Grossman look better. Grossman looked good again last week, but let's not forget the New York Giant defense was pretty banged up. I mean, they had a lot of injuries. I think that helped make Grossman look better than maybe he is. Is he improved? Absolutely. Grossman is improved from the Grossman that we all remember back in Chicago. Is he improved as much as he's looked in the preseason and last week? I don't think he's quite there yet, but that still may be more than enough to handle this Arizona team.
I think that, Marco, there'll be instances to fade Grossman, but he's going against another bad defense right here at home. So I think this is a spot for him to keep shining.
I actually, you couldn't have said it better. I hope, obviously, this is your best bet. I hope you're absolutely right. I hope Grossman has a big game because it's just going to inflate the value to Washington, and I think that's going to set up a play against Washington down the road very soon. So I'm on the fence. Your official projection, 27-13?
Yeah, I'm going to call it Washington by 2 touchdowns.
You have it there. The pressure's on. We had to talk about Washington, Arizona because Stephen said they're going to win by 14. That's his video best bet. We'll be right back. We're going to take a look at, actually, no, that's it. Oh, boy, did time fly. We went through all the videos already. We'll be back next week. We'll do that, but we're going to have a special segment we're going to talk about something last week with the NFL over-unders and what's going on in Vegas this week because of it. So come right back for a video on NFL totals.